Have you ever woken up one morning, looked around, and realized that everything you're living feels like a repeat? Like you're stuck on a playlist of old songs that don't inspire you anymore? It's that moment when you feel like you're dragging your spirit through the day, held back by relationships that once fueled you, but now just fume with nostalgia. You're not alone. Many of us cling to the familiar because letting go seems so daunting, yet deep down, we know it's essential for discovering new melodies in the symphony of life. Today, we're going to explore how letting go of what no longer serves us can open doors to new beginnings, how it can liberate us from the chains of comfort and launch us into a journey of growth and self-discovery. Stick with me, and let's unlock the power of change together, finding freedom in forging paths that resonate with who we are now, not just who we were. In this video, we're diving into the transformative world of Stoicism with 11 essential lessons that could change your perspective on life. Stay tuned and make sure you don't skip ahead. You wouldn't want to miss the secret insights hidden in these teachings that could unlock your next big chapter. And while you're here, remember to hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and share this video. Let's go. Number 1. Feeling stuck. Feeling stuck is like being in a room where the door seems to have vanished. You look around, recognizing the familiar corners, the same view out the window, but your feet are glued to the carpet, and the scenery never changes. It's not just a minor annoyance. It can feel like your entire essence is on pause, and this, my friend, is more common than you might think. In Stoic philosophy, they talk a lot about the concept of amor fati, a love of fate. It's this radical acceptance of life as it is. But here's the kicker. Acceptance isn't about being passive. It's about recognizing your situation so you can find the power to change it. Marcus Aurelius, a true Stoic sage, once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." So feeling stuck isn't just a roadblock. It's actually a signpost, screaming at you that it's time to move, to pivot, to reroute. How do you do that? Start by asking yourself, what part of my current environment or relationships feels confining? Is it the routine? Is it the people who no longer challenge you, but instead echo back your own thoughts without any new harmony or rhythm? The beauty of Stoicism here is that it teaches us to distinguish between what we can change and what we cannot. You might not be able to immediately change your circumstances, but you can change your reaction to them. You can choose to seek out those who spark new thoughts, new energies, and inspire you to step out of that stuck place. And remember, being stuck is often a perception. Seneca, another great Stoic, said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." It's crucial to dissect whether the feeling of being stuck is a reality or a complex web spun from our fears and hesitations. So, if you're feeling stuck, see it as a call to action. Reflect on your current alliances. Do they lift you up or hold you back? Are you nurturing habits that contribute to your growth, or are they reinforcing your standstill? This isn't just about moving for the sake of motion. It's about mindful movement, choosing paths that align with growth, wisdom, and your authentic self. Let's embrace the Stoic mindset and use our feelings of confinement as a catalyst for genuine change. Number 2, questioning motives. Questioning why you're still in a certain relationship is like finally turning on a light in a room you've only ever seen in the dim evening shadows. Suddenly, you see everything clearly: the dust, the outdated wallpaper, and maybe even why you've kept the room unchanged for so long. It's about peering into the corners of your connection and asking, why am I really here? Is it love, comfort, fear, or just because it's all I've known? In Stoicism, there's profound respect for the idea of self-examination. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, would encourage us to scrutinize our motives with his teaching that it's not events themselves that disturb us, but our views on them. So, when we question our motives for staying in a relationship, it's essential to peel back the layers of our justifications and truly examine them. Are you holding on out of genuine affection and mutual growth? Or are you swayed by fear of loneliness or the daunting unknown that comes with change? This process of questioning isn't about finding faults with others. Rather, it's about aligning our external relationships with our internal truths. Stoicism teaches us the value of congruence between our actions and our virtues. If loyalty is a virtue you hold dear, are you being loyal to your needs and to the other person by remaining in a static relationship that doesn't foster growth? Or would the more virtuous path be to allow both of you the freedom to seek environments where you can truly flourish? Marcus Aurelius once wrote in his Meditations about the importance of acting in accordance with nature. In our context, this could be interpreted as acting in accordance with our truest selves. When we stay in relationships that no longer serve us or them, are we really being true to our nature, or are we denying it for the sake of convenience? So, as you reflect on your reasons for maintaining certain bonds, consider whether these relationships encourage you to live up to your highest ideals. Stoicism doesn't just ask us to accept our fate. It challenges us to actively create a fate that aligns with our values. It's about understanding that every day we have the power to choose, and questioning our motives is a powerful exercise in reclaiming that power. Let's be honest with ourselves. Why do we choose the company we keep? Is it enhancing our lives, or are we just orbiting around old habits? Understanding this can be the first step in a journey towards more authentic and fulfilling relationships, one where we are not just passively going through the motions, but actively shaping our interactions to reflect our deepest values and aspirations. Number 3. Persistent negative emotions. Persistent negative emotions in our relationships can often feel like a constant low-grade fever. It doesn't knock you off your feet, but it drains you, makes you feel less vibrant, less capable. Think about those times when every interaction feels tainted, with a hint of frustration, sadness, or resentment. It's like there's a background noise that just won't quiet down, isn't it? Stoicism, at its core, offers us a toolkit for dealing with these types of emotional disturbances. The philosophy teaches us not just to endure, but to understand and transform our emotional landscape. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic emperor and philosopher, often spoke about how our reactions to events are the real architects of our disturbance. If we're consistently facing negative emotions within our relationships, it's a signal, like a blinking light on your car's dashboard telling you something needs attention. What do you do about this constant emotional static? First, it's crucial to identify the source. Are these feelings stemming from unmet expectations, miscommunications, or perhaps even from our own internal conflicts being projected outward? Stoicism doesn't just urge us to suppress or endure these feelings. Rather, it encourages us to examine them, to get to the root of our disturbances and address them logically and compassionately. Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, would advise us to adjust our expectations. He taught that pain often comes from our anticipation of an event, not the event itself. If we recalibrate what we expect from those around us, could it alleviate some of our distress? This doesn't mean lowering our standards, but aligning our expectations more closely with reality and with the nature of the people involved. And here's another Stoic practice: reflecting on what's within our control. If we find ourselves constantly upset by someone else's words or actions, it might be time to consider our sphere of influence. Can we change the situation, or is it something we need to accept? If change is within reach, Stoicism encourages proactive engagement, perhaps through open, honest communication or setting clearer boundaries. But what if the issue lies beyond our control? Then perhaps the Stoic wisdom of Epictetus comes into play, learning to detach from things outside our control. This isn't about indifference, but about healthy detachment, preserving our inner peace by refusing to let external actions dictate our emotional state. Persistent negative emotions are not just hurdles to be overcome. They're opportunities for profound personal growth and understanding. They push us to look more deeply at our relationships and ourselves, challenge us to realign our lives with our values, and teach us the art of emotional resilience. Engaging with these emotions through a Stoic lens doesn't mean we ignore the pain. Instead, it means we approach it with wisdom and the understanding that our capacity for emotional intelligence is vast. By doing so, we not only free ourselves from unnecessary suffering, but also cultivate deeper, more meaningful connections with those around us. Remember, in the tranquility of a Stoic mind, there lies the strength to transform every emotional storm into a wave that lifts us higher. Number 4. Dominance of negative emotions. When negative emotions like jealousy, anger, or resentment start to dominate your relationships, it can feel like you're constantly walking through a minefield, never quite knowing what might trigger the next explosion. It's exhausting, isn't it? You start to dread interactions that should bring joy and comfort. Instead, these interactions leave you feeling drained and wary. In Stoicism, there's a powerful focus on mastering our emotions, not by suppressing them, but by understanding their origins and learning to navigate them with wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This principle is particularly relevant when dealing with dominant negative emotions. It encourages us to shift our focus from external triggers to our internal responses. So, how do we handle these overwhelming feelings? First, it's important to recognize that while emotions themselves are natural, the extent to which we let them control our actions and thoughts can be managed. The Stoic approach would be to step back and ask, why does this emotion have so much power over me? What is it within me that responds so strongly? This isn't about placing blame, but about seeking understanding. Epictetus, another revered Stoic, would advise us to distinguish between what we can change and what we cannot. If your relationship is often clouded by negative emotions, you might not be able to change how the other person acts, but you can change how you react. This might involve setting boundaries or openly discussing how certain behaviors affect you. It could also mean choosing not to engage in certain topics that historically lead to conflict. Another Stoic strategy is the practice of premeditation, envisioning potential challenges and preparing yourself mentally to face them calmly. This doesn't mean expecting the worst, but rather preparing to meet challenges in a way that aligns with your values and desired character. If you know a conversation could become heated, planning your words and keeping your Stoic principles in mind can help you maintain your composure. Moreover, the Stoics believed in the cultivation of virtues such as patience, understanding, and resilience. By developing these qualities, you enhance your ability to remain stable even when waves of negative emotions try to topple your peace. It's about building an emotional fortitude that protects you not by blocking out emotions, but by allowing you to process them in healthier, more constructive ways. Dominance of negative emotions in a relationship often highlights a need for deeper change, sometimes in the relationship dynamics, other times within ourselves. By applying Stoic wisdom, We learn not to fear or fight these emotions, but to use them as catalysts for personal growth and improved relationships. It's about harnessing the energy from these emotions to propel us forward, transforming potential conflicts into opportunities for strengthening our understanding and compassion. Number 5. Loss of autonomy. Losing autonomy in a relationship is like finding yourself navigating someone else's map of the world where your own compass no longer points north. It's a subtle, often gradual loss where you might start to realize that the decisions you make, the desires you pursue, and even the simple daily choices aren't really yours anymore. It can feel as though your own voice is being drowned out by someone else's script, right? In Stoicism, autonomy is a critical component of personal freedom and integrity. Epictetus, a key figure in Stoicism, believed deeply in the concept of personal agency and self-mastery. He famously said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This is a powerful reminder that true freedom comes from within, and that losing this through external control or coercion is antithetical to living a fulfilling life. So, how do you know if you're losing autonomy, and what can you do about it? First, it's about recognizing the signs. Are you often second-guessing yourself because of what someone else might think or say? Do you find yourself doing things just to keep peace, or because it's what someone else wants, even if it doesn't feel right to you? These can be signs that your autonomy is being compromised. Addressing this loss starts with reconnecting to your own values and desires. Stoicism isn't about following another's path blindly. It's about crafting your life in accordance with reason and virtue. Marcus Aurelius advocated for living in agreement with nature, your own nature. To regain your autonomy, you must first clarify what is naturally aligned with your character and what is not. Sometimes reclaiming autonomy means setting firm boundaries. This can be challenging, especially if you're not used to asserting yourself or if you fear the other person's reaction. However, setting boundaries is a Stoic exercise in protecting your rational mind and emotional health. It involves clearly stating what is acceptable and what is not, what you are willing to participate in and what you are not. In practical terms, this could involve saying no to things that don't feel right, making time for your personal interests and pursuits, and being honest about your feelings and preferences. It's about taking back the pen to write your own story, rather than being a character in someone else's narrative. Moreover, engaging in open and honest communication is essential. Discuss your feelings of lost autonomy with the other person. Often, they may not even be aware of the impact of their actions. A Stoic approach would be to address this calmly and rationally, without blame, but with a clear expression of your needs and feelings. Regaining autonomy is not just about external boundaries. It's also about strengthening your internal fortitude. This means developing confidence in your judgments and decisions, which is rooted in a deep understanding of your virtues and the wisdom you've accumulated over time. Loss of autonomy can deeply impact your happiness and growth, but with a Stoic mindset, you can begin to reclaim your independence and align your life with your true self. It's a journey worth undertaking, empowering you to live not just any life, but your life fully and freely. Number 6. Manipulative behaviors. Dealing with manipulative behaviors in a relationship is a bit like trying to navigate a maze where the paths keep shifting. You think you're heading towards a clear resolution, only to find the route suddenly changes direction, guided by someone else's hidden agenda. It's disorienting, isn't it? Manipulation can take many forms, whether it's subtle hints and passive-aggressive comments, or more overt controlling behaviors and guilt trips. All are designed to sway your actions and decisions away from your own true desires and intentions. Stoicism, with its focus on virtue, wisdom, and self-mastery, offers a valuable perspective on handling manipulative dynamics. The Stoics believed in living a life of personal integrity and rationality. Epictetus, one of the key Stoic philosophers, emphasized the importance of differentiating between what is within our control and what is not. In the context of manipulation, this means recognizing and accepting that while we cannot control another person's behavior, we can control our reactions to it. Firstly, identifying manipulative behavior is crucial. It often feels like you're being gently pushed in a certain direction, but look closer, and you might see that these nudges make you compromise your values, ignore your boundaries, or act against your better judgment. Does it feel like you're often placed in a position where saying no would result in an outsized negative reaction? Are your emotions being used against you in a way that feels unfair or disproportionate? Recognizing these patterns is the first step in addressing them. Once you've identified manipulative behavior, the Stoic practice of objective judgment comes into play. Marcus Aurelius advocated for seeing things for what they truly are, without the overlay of our subjective biases or emotions. Apply this to the manipulative behavior. Strip away any excuses you or the other person might make, and look at the facts of the actions and their impacts on your well-being. The next step is to respond with reason and integrity. This could involve setting clear and firm boundaries, communicated calmly and respectfully. It's not about retaliation or confrontation, but about asserting your right to be treated with respect and to make decisions based on your own reasoning, not someone else's scheming. Moreover, Stoicism teaches resilience and the virtue of courage to uphold your boundaries and values, even when it's challenging. It also encourages compassion, not only for others, but for oneself. In situations of manipulation, this means having the compassion to recognize when a relationship dynamic is harming you and the courage to make necessary changes, which could range from seeking external help to distancing yourself from the relationship. Lastly, practicing Stoic reflection can be powerful. Reflect daily on interactions and feelings, asking yourself, did I act according to my values today? Was I manipulated into straying from my path? What can I do tomorrow to better align with my Stoic virtues? This kind of reflection builds mental and emotional strength, helping you to become more immune to manipulative tactics over time. Number 7. Emotional drainage. Have you ever finished a day feeling like you've run a marathon but all you did was spend time with someone? That's emotional drainage for you. It's when interactions with certain people leave you more exhausted than energized, as if your emotional battery not only didn't recharge but got depleted instead. It's not just the feeling of being tired. It's about feeling emotionally spent, like there's nothing left to give, even to yourself. From a Stoic perspective, this is a critical signal that something in the dynamics of your relationships is out of balance. Stoicism teaches us about the importance of maintaining our inner citadel, our core of rationality and peace, against external disturbances. Marcus Aurelius, a sage of Stoic philosophy, often spoke about the importance of protecting our inner peace from the chaos of the external world. When our interactions with someone consistently drain this peace, it's a sign we need to examine the situation more closely. So, why does emotional drainage happen? Often it's because the relationship demands more than it gives back. You might be dealing with someone who is overly negative, critical, or demanding. Perhaps you're in a dynamic where your boundaries aren't respected, or you feel compelled to meet incessant demands or cope with constant conflicts. Each of these interactions chips away at your emotional resilience. Addressing emotional drainage starts with awareness. recognizing which relationships drain you and how. Reflect on your interactions. After spending time with this person, how do you feel? Drained, upset, or unhappy? Stoicism doesn't just tell us to endure, it encourages us to use reason to improve our state. This might mean setting firmer boundaries or even reconsidering the amount of time you spend with those who drain you. The Stoics also taught about the value of self-sufficiency, not in the sense of isolating oneself, but in cultivating an inner richness that no external force can deplete. Epictetus would advise us to depend less on the external validation or emotional responses from others and focus more on cultivating our own virtues like wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. By fostering these inner strengths, we can interact with others from a place of fullness rather than neediness, which inherently reduces emotional exhaustion. Moreover, consider the Stoic practice of negative visualization. Occasionally contemplate the worst-case scenario in social interactions. This practice can help temper your reactions to draining behaviors, as you've already considered how badly things could go. This doesn't mean expecting the worst, but it prepares you mentally to handle difficult situations with a calmer demeanor. The Stoic principle of community and mutual support reminds us that while self-sufficiency is vital, so is nurturing relationships that are reciprocal, where support and energy flow both ways. It might be necessary to invest more in relationships that replenish you rather than those that leave you empty. Addressing emotional drainage doesn't mean you stop caring about others. Rather, it's about caring for yourself too. It's about finding a balance where your relationships are neither parasitic nor one-sided, but are mutual, supportive, and enriching. This alignment not only protects your emotional health but also enables you to be a better friend, partner, or colleague, because you engage from a place of strength and authenticity, not from depletion and obligation. Number 8. Lack of respect. Experiencing a lack of respect in a relationship is like trying to build a house on a foundation made of sand. No matter how much effort you put into it, it just doesn't hold strong because the base isn't solid. Respect is the bedrock of any meaningful connection. Without it, everything else feels off balance. It's not just about feeling unvalued. It's deeper. It's about realizing that a fundamental aspect of your dignity and worth is being overlooked or undermined. In Stoicism, respect is closely tied to the concept of virtue, specifically the virtue of justice, which involves treating others with fairness and dignity, recognizing the intrinsic value of each individual. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the importance of acting justly, not because of what we can gain from others, but because it's the right thing to do according to nature and reason. When you sense a lack of respect in a relationship, it challenges your ability to live according to Stoic principles. If someone constantly dismisses your thoughts, ignores your feelings, or belittles your contributions, it's not just painful, it's philosophically and ethically problematic. This behavior disrupts the harmony that should exist in relationships, a harmony based on mutual respect and understanding. The Stoic approach to dealing with this would be multifaceted. Firstly, it's important to reflect inwardly. Ask yourself, are my expectations of respect reasonable and grounded in reality? Sometimes what we perceive as disrespect can be a miscommunication or a difference in perspective. It's crucial to ensure that you're not misinterpreting the actions of others based on your own biases or previous experiences. If after a fair assessment, the lack of respect is clear, the next step is to communicate your feelings clearly and assertively. This doesn't mean reacting with anger or aggression, which would not be in line with Stoic temperance, but rather addressing the issue with calm rationality. Express how the behavior affects you and outline what respect looks like to you in this relationship. Epictetus would remind us here that while we can't control others' behavior, we can control our responses and set clear boundaries. Another important Stoic practice is the preparation for adversity, or premeditatio malorum. Consider the potential outcomes of addressing the lack of respect. Be prepared for the possibility that the behavior may not change, and think about your options if that's the case. This might include reducing the level of engagement with the person or, in extreme cases, reconsidering the relationship entirely. The key is to make these decisions from a place of reasoned choice rather than emotional reaction. Maintaining your self-respect is paramount. Seneca argued that our own actions should be in harmony with the world's natural order, and that includes acting with self-respect and dignity. If continuous disrespect is a feature of your relationship, ask yourself whether this situation aligns with your values and your understanding of a good, ethical life. Dealing with a lack of respect challenges us to practice Stoicism in a direct and practical way. It's about ensuring that our relationships reflect the respect and virtue we strive to embody in our own lives. Through thoughtful action and philosophical reflection, we can address these challenges not just to improve our relationships, but to strengthen our own character in the process. Number 9. Clinging to illusions. Clinging to illusions in a relationship is like holding on to a beautifully painted picture of a sunset instead of stepping outside to experience the real thing. It's comfortable, predictable, and safe because you know exactly what to expect from the picture. But it's also static and unchanging, unlike the dynamic, ever-evolving reality of a genuine sunset. Many of us do this with our relationships. We hold on to an idealized version that may have once existed or that we wish existed, avoiding the more challenging truths that face us. In Stoicism, there's a strong emphasis on seeing the world as it truly is, not as we wish it to be. This practice of objective perception is known as practicing the view from above, where you try to see life and its events from a broader, more detached perspective. This helps in reducing the impact of our immediate emotions and biases, giving us a clearer view of reality. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic emperor, often wrote about the importance of this perspective, emphasizing how it helps us respond to life's challenges with more clarity and effectiveness. When we cling to illusions in our relationships, we are, in a sense, denying reality, which is counter to the Stoic practice of embracing life as it is. This might manifest as ignoring problematic behaviors, rationalizing disappointments away, or living in the nostalgia of better times without addressing the current state of affairs. Addressing this means first acknowledging that you might be viewing the relationship through a distorted lens. This is where another Stoic principle comes into play: self-examination. Take a step back and ask yourself tough questions about the relationship. What are you ignoring? Why are you choosing illusion over reality? Often we find that fear of change or the discomfort of confrontation keeps us bound to these illusions. The Stoic approach to overcoming this would involve consciously aligning yourself with the truth, no matter how uncomfortable. This aligns with the Stoic virtue of courage, the courage to face the truth and act on it. It may involve having difficult conversations, setting new boundaries, or even reassessing the viability of the relationship itself. Moreover, Stoicism teaches the practice of indifference to things outside our control. In the context of clinging to illusions, this means recognizing what aspects of the relationship you can change and accepting what you cannot. If certain dynamics or patterns are beyond your influence, the Stoic response would be to adapt your expectations and emotional investments accordingly. Lastly, embracing reality over illusion does not necessarily lead to negative outcomes. It often opens up pathways to deeper, more meaningful connections. When both parties in a relationship can see and accept each other as they truly are, without the veils of illusion, it lays down a foundation of honesty and trust that can lead to greater intimacy and satisfaction. Letting go of illusions and embracing the true nature of your relationship can be liberating. It aligns you with the Stoic ideals of living according to nature, your own true nature, and the nature of the world around you. This alignment not only brings peace but also empowers you to live authentically and make decisions that truly enhance your well-being and growth. Number 10. Compromising core values. Compromising your core values for the sake of a relationship is like slowly chipping away at the foundation of your own character. Each compromise might seem minor at the time, a small concession, a slight bending of your boundaries, but over time these small breaches can accumulate, leaving you feeling hollow, unsteady, and distant from who you truly are. It's as if you're trading bits of your soul for the temporary comfort of harmony or acceptance. In Stoicism, the integrity of one's character and adherence to one's virtues are non-negotiable. The Stoics, such as Epictetus, believed that maintaining your moral integrity was essential to living a good life. He taught that external circumstances or other people's behaviors should not dictate our internal moral state. This idea is particularly relevant when we feel pressured to compromise our core values. According to Stoic philosophy, these are the very moments that test and define our character. Let's think about what compromising values might look like in a relationship. Maybe it's agreeing to something that feels wrong, or staying silent when you see injustices, simply because you want to avoid conflict or discomfort. Each time you do this, you're not only betraying your own values, but also reinforcing to yourself and others that these values are negotiable. Addressing this requires a clear understanding and reaffirmation of what your core values are. What principles do you hold dear? Honesty, loyalty, kindness, courage. Reflect on these and evaluate how well your relationship dynamics align with them. Stoicism teaches us to look inward and fortify our commitment to these values, making them the guiding stars of our actions regardless of external pressures. The Stoic practice of reflection is crucial here. At the end of each day, review instances where you might have compromised your values and examine the reasons and consequences of those actions. This practice, known as the evening meditation, isn't about self-reproach, but about learning and strengthening your resolve to do better. Moreover, Stoicism doesn't advocate for a passive acceptance of life's challenges, but rather encourages active engagement in accordance with virtue. If maintaining your values means you need to have tough conversations, set firmer boundaries, or even reconsider the future of the relationship, then these are the actions you must be prepared to take. Marcus Aurelius emphasized that our actions should always be in agreement with nature, the highest form of nature being our rational and virtuous selves. Remember that relationships should not just be about compromise and sacrifice. They should be a source of support, growth, and mutual respect. A truly healthy relationship will not require you to lose yourself, but will celebrate and uplift your true self, including your deeply held values. Number 11. Lack of reciprocity. Dealing with a lack of reciprocity in a relationship is a bit like being the only one rowing a boat intended for two. It's exhausting and you don't get very far, do you? It feels imbalanced when you're constantly giving, be it effort, love, or support, and receiving little in return. It's draining and can lead to feelings of resentment and frustration. It's like investing in a business that never gives you any returns. Eventually, you start to question why you're investing at all. Stoicism, which values wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation, offers us insightful ways to handle such imbalances. The Stoics believed that we should not expect or demand reciprocity in all things, because some aspects of life are beyond our control. However, they also advocated for living in accordance with nature, which includes forming and maintaining social relationships that are just and beneficial for all parties involved. The first step in addressing a lack of reciprocity is recognizing it, which can sometimes be challenging. It's easy to get caught up in the routines of relationships, ignoring the signs that the give and take has become skewed. Take a moment to reflect. Are you always the one initiating contact? Are your efforts and affections met with indifference or minimal response? Are you making all the sacrifices? Stoicism teaches us to observe our lives with a rational detachment, allowing us to assess our relationships more objectively. Once you've identified the issue, consider the Stoic practice of direct and honest communication. It's important to express your feelings without blame or anger. Describe your observations and how the imbalance affects you. This isn't about making the other person feel guilty, but about seeking a path to better balance. Remember, Marcus Aurelius advised us to avoid reacting emotionally and instead approach situations with a calm and composed mind. Also, reflect on the nature of your expectations. Epictetus would remind us that not all people will act as we wish them to, and it's not within our power to change them. He would suggest adjusting our expectations and finding peace in doing our part well, without attachment to the outcome. This doesn't mean accepting perpetual imbalance, but it does mean recognizing that your happiness and peace of mind must, at some point, be independent of others' actions. However, maintaining a Stoic attitude doesn't mean tolerating a persistently unreciprocal relationship. Stoicism is also about respecting yourself and recognizing when a situation is not conducive to your well-being. If honest conversations and adjusted expectations don't lead to improvements, it may be necessary to reconsider the relationship's role in your life. This is where the Stoic virtue of courage comes in, having the courage to make difficult decisions that are right for your peace of mind and well-being. Stoicism holds that true happiness comes from within, from living a life of virtue in accordance with reason. Cultivate your interests, strengthen your self-reliance, and cherish relationships that are naturally reciprocal. In doing so, you align more closely with Stoic principles, finding contentment in your actions and peace in knowing you've lived true to your values. Remember that life's too short to row your boat alone or with someone who won't pick up an oar. Cultivate relationships that bring balance and enrich your journey, embracing those who row alongside you with equal vigor. Let this exploration be a stepping stone towards greater self-awareness and deeper, more meaningful connections. If you found this dialogue enlightening, dive deeper into the Stoic principles that can transform your life by checking out the playlist on your screen. Continue your journey with us, learn more about harnessing the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, and find that inner peace and balanced reciprocity in all your relationships. Click on the playlist, keep exploring, and keep growing. Thank you for joining me today, and remember to always strive for a life that's not just lived, but truly loved.